The story begins on the day our main protagonist, Rin, confronts the soul-devouring black magic. He fell into a deep sleep, leaving his companions behind. 300 years have passed since then, but even the regained peace and the tranquil everyday life are nothing but mere illusions. Even now, the world is being engulfed by darkness. Everything started when Rin turned 13 and was visited by a hero in the magic tower. It was a person who had snow-white hair and golden eyes. She said that she heard Rin was a once-in-a-century genius wizard, but she was hoping that Rin, a kid, wasn't the one she was looking for. On that day, the Grand Wizard Rin just stared at her for a second then continued what he was doing. The lady kept calling him but he kept ignoring her until the lady asked if he could hear her. At that moment, Rin told the lady that he was not a genius or a kid. He gave his name to the lady and the lady was so happy that he finally spoke. Are you really the youngest 4-star Grand Wizard in the history of the Empire, Rin? Looks like I've come to the right place. The lady said while walking toward Rin. Rin continued to pile the books while the lady told him that he was still a kid because of his size. If you're supposed to be a genius wizard, why does it seem like you need diapers? If you join our party, I'll change them for you every day, she said. But Rin got annoyed at her and activated a fireball which made the lady scared and moved away from him while saying sorry. Unfortunately, she was bumped on the bookshelves. Her head hurts without knowing that it wasn't the end. The books above the shelves were shaking until they dropped to the ground. Rin was puzzled since he had never done anything yet. He was staring at the lady buried in the books. There was something flopped on her head and her reaction made Rin laugh loudly and the lady was also happy seeing him smiling. It was then that Rin became interested in her. The lady then extended her hand and Rin was still hesitant to get close with her. The lady widely smiled the moment Rin shook hands with her. The lady introduced herself in the name Lista Alter Skirpin, a fake warrior of the Radiant Dragon Church. She was a fake warrior since her strength is enhanced through bodily modifications, but her lifespan is short. When they finally talked, Lista then asked Rin to join her to defeat the abyss that was approaching from Antarctica. This means joining the so-called hero party. Lista's party had already recruited 2 well-known individuals. The Empire's renowned archer, Gungseon Kais, and Pride, the priestess of the fire dragon from the Dragon Republic. Instead of refusing the invitation, Rin told Lista that he didn't want to die. Lista then told him that nobody wanted to. Are the other 2 as fun as you are? Rin asked, which shocked the lady. She then answered that their 2 companions were both as crazy as she was, but there was something way more interesting than them. With a curious face, Lin asked her what it was, and Lista answered, the world. The world where they are right now held a strange resonance for Rin, someone who had been rescued from the slums and had since dedicated themselves solely to studying magic in the magic tower. His goal was to become the highest pinnacle of the Empire's magical community, a 7-star wizard recognized by the Empire. It was said that if they reached the 7-star level, they could understand the truths of the world. And Rin wanted to reach that realm where no one had ever gone before. Living here, spending a lifetime reading magic books wasn't a bad option for him. But to master the 7-star magic, he needed to know about the world outside the magic tower. However, aimless travel seemed like such a hassle, so he often wondered if he really needed to. But then, Lista, a careless hero, came along, suggesting he should join her in saving the world. It was a sudden proposal, but it was enough to draw Rin out into the outside world. I don't have a burning sense of justice or a desire to save the world. He took her outstretched hand and traveled along with her and her 2 other companions. Kais, an archer whose accuracy dropped to almost nothing if he didn't drink, and he was mute. All of a sudden, someone blows a dark smoke to Rin's face. It was Pride, the priestess. She was an extreme chain smoker despite her title. I am the priestess of the fire dragon, I should at least be able to breathe out fire. That is what she always said. She usually blows dark cigarette smoke in Rin's face and then laughs hysterically like a complete lunatic. And then there's Lista who just laughed, but she was startled when a huge behind her screamed so loud. It was a one-eyed beast, and the 3, except for Rin, were calm upon seeing it. And at that point, Rin confirmed that both Pride and Kais were undeniably skilled. They bravely attacked the monster's eyes which made it blinded and screamed in agony. They then seized the opportunity and attacked its body. Their team was indeed strong. The vicious monsters they encountered on their journey, the minions of the abyss invading from the north, none of these could stand against them. Lista would always joke with Rin even in the middle of fighting. Rin, you must never fall for me, even though I'm pretty awesome. That is what she always said kiddingly. She also invited Rin to have a trip with her once everything was over. She usually teases Rin by saying that he is innocent and might end up getting fooled by other women. Thus, 5 years have passed. As their journey to save the world from the clutches of the abyss was nearing its end, something strange started happening to Rin's body which made Lista cry the most. It was the result of constant exposure to enemy attacks over 5 years. On the brink of their final battle with the abyss, Rin found himself dying slowly, being consumed by the soul-eating poison. He was aware that his life would soon come to an end. Despite that Kais was mute, it was seen in his eyes how sad he was while staring at Rin suffering in pain. Since Pride is a priestess, Lista begs her to do something to save Rin. But then, even how much Pride wants to save Rin, she cannot do anything either since she can't break the curse at all. Lista was crying. She was really in pain, and she was afraid that Rin would die. Rin was spitting blood, and even though he was in pain, he still forced himself to speak just to let everyone know that he didn't want to die. He pulled his shirt while telling everyone not to worry about him since he already found a way. There was Jayo Saji Debel on his chest, a spell for immortality inscribed on the heart's location. It was a spell that would freeze the body into a dormant state and then heal it completely. He doesn't have any idea how long it would take to resurrect. But this was the only option he had left. His lower body started to freeze. He pulled Lista's shirt. Lista looked at him while continuously crying. He smiled at her and promised her that he would definitely return. He wished them to win the battle. Lista smiled back at him even if she didn't want to. She promised Rin to do their best to win. They both held hands and swore to meet again. Since Rin promised to return, Lista proclaimed that the four of them would see the world together. She cried so much but she still smiled at Rin. She promised that she would stay by his side until he woke up. Rin smiled at her and also gave her a promise that he would be back. And after his last word, he was completely frozen. His consciousness is being drawn into the coldness of death. A floating feeling, a sense of emptiness like sinking into a damp swamp, and a lingering attachment to the world. He wasn't sure if he would see the end of the 7-star magic and grasp the ultimate truth. 3 of his companions continued fighting the abyss while he was shrinking. And as Lista promised, she did her best, also Pride and Kai's. The story of traveling through this vast world together ends here. In front of the howling hordes of the abyss, everything in front of Rin is darkness, and many years have passed but he is still facing darkness. Just as he was becoming accustomed to struggling in the darkness, he finally woke up. But then, he flinched when there was a lady grabbed his shoulder and asked him if he was fine. He looked at the lady and uttered mother. But then, he was confused knowing that he didn't have a mother as he was just an orphan. The sun suddenly made him blinded. He looks around and notices a peaceful surrounding. Still, he doesn't know where he is at this moment. The lady with him was worried for him, wondering why he acted differently. She then told him that this place was the Hero Plaza in front of the Papal Palace where a statue commemorating Hero Lista's party was there. Rin was shocked upon hearing it. He then took a step and headed to the statue his mother mentioned. Then, there he saw himself and his 3 companions, Lista, Kai's, and Pride. He was puzzled, and he asked his mother what year is it now. The lady was still confused. She questioned him why he asked about the year all of a sudden. She felt some strange toward Rin. But then, Rin asked the same question, and despite that the lady was annoyed, she still answered that it was Tertia year 1418. Rin was shocked. He then questioned himself if he reincarnated or if his memory was fused with someone else's body. He feels a strange feeling in his body, and he cannot explain what's going on. Lista's laughter, Kai's drunken pants, and Pride's cigarette smoke were all memories from 300 years ago already. Did we win the final battle? He asked, but he was aware that this question was pointless. If they hadn't won, he concludes that there wouldn't be a statue of them in the plaza. And he also noticed that the sky is now peaceful, which isn't the same back then. Oh come on, why are you saying such obvious things? But wow, that's too bad. If you go to the top of the Papal Palace, they say Rin's body is still frozen there, the lady stated. He then smiled as he confirmed that he possessed someone's body since his original body was still frozen according to the lady. The lady also informed him that rumors said Lista stayed by Rin's side until the day she died. It's really beautiful but sorrowful, isn't it? The lady asked, but she never heard any answer from Rin. She looked at Rin and noticed him laughing. She asked him why he was laughing despite that she was telling a truly sad story. She doesn't know that he only laughed but he was in pain. He recalled how he and Lista held hands, then realized that Lista really kept her promise. He walked closer to the statues without hearing his mother's voice. He stood at the statues and touched the tombstone and cried at the fact that it was he who didn't keep a promise of not coming back alive. He doesn't know what his 3 companions said about him to the people for him to become a historic figure. The Emperor of the Empire personally erected a monument in his honor, and many magic towers and magic families revered him like a saint. However, the only thing the past 300 years left with him was just magic. The memories of traveling to countless places, and the faces of his companions who laughed brightly in those memories, too. He questioned himself what he should do now that he possessed someone's body. Lista's team became legends, not memories. She once said that memories only become memories when you share them with someone else. So Rins could say that his memories haven't become memories yet. Until he meets them again in death, he'll have to live with these memories alone, like echoes with no response. While he was thinking, his mother came with a cup of tea. He then smiled and accepted it while thinking that his companions were gone and left him alone in this world. He was staring at his tea, wondering what he should do. Then, he remembered Lista. He then realizes that he still has something he needs to do. The Sacred Human Empire had divided the wizard class into 7 levels. 1-star common wizard, Bandarin. 2-star intermediate wizard, Limitless, 3-star senior wizard, Atlas, 4-star advanced wizard, Glottos, 5-star grand wizard, Acquisat, 6-star safe, Rampage, and lastly, the 7-star sage, Shinseiji. The higher level Rin reached was the 5-star rank. In the Empire's history, only 2 people had reached the rank of 6-star or higher, known as sages. It could be said that they have reached the ultimate truth. If he hadn't gone on that journey with Lista, he might have become a 6-star by the time he died of old age. But he would have lived with regret. Even if someone could turn back time, he would still go on that journey with her over and over again. But now, Lista is gone. He was just hoping this world was filled with laughter. He wondered if this world which they desperately fought to protect really what Lista envisioned. They say that those who reach the pinnacle of magic, the ultimate truth, can see the true nature of the world. So in this life, he needed to become a 7-star wizard. He wanted to push himself to escape this feeling of sorrow and emptiness. Lista, Pride, and Kais usually tease him while he is always grumbling. The party members were cheerful and optimistic, but the journey with them all was truly enjoyable for Rin. He stares at his companion's statues and decided to say goodbye to them so he could move forward. For him, the dead can only stay in the past and cannot walk with them. The living must follow the flow of time and keep moving toward the future. Thus, his second life began. Back then, Rin was questioned by Lista about his family. She knew that he won't have a family, but she wanted to also know if Rin wished to have a family. Rin then instantly answered no, since he was used to it. He doesn't even know what his mother looks like. He grew up in the northern slums. If the headmaster of the Assyria's school hadn't noticed his magical talent and taken him in, he would probably live as an orphan and die on the street. He doesn't know what family is, and he also doesn't care. Pride suddenly hung on his shoulder and said that it was sad. He then pushed him away and said that he wouldn't know how to deal with a family even if he had one, which is why he thinks he doesn't need a family. Lista then told him that he doesn't need to overthink, as he only needs to show his love. Seeing him as a warm-hearted kid, Lista believes that he'll do fine. At this moment, Rin woke up since his personal maid came and greeted him. The maid informed him that she'd prepare a breakfast now that he was awake. He then gets up and stretched his body. He walked and went into the mirror. Just 20 days ago, he regained his past life memories, and he was reincarnated into the body of a 9-year-old spoiled young master. This boy, named Rain, spelled as R-I-N, was the eldest son of the Ludwig family, one of the Empire's top 5 magical families. He was an orphan in his past life, but in this one, he was born into a noble family. To get used to this new life, he had to put a lot of effort into it. When he came out of his room, he saw his mother and she greeted him a good morning. His mother then asked him to go to his father and informed him that breakfast was ready. He then smiled at his mother and said he would. He went to his father's library room and saw his father reading a book. He's Kevin Ludwig. He then asked Rin if he didn't sleep well due to his face that isn't looking very good. Kevin patted Rin's head and concluded that Rin hadn't shaken off the travel fatigue. "Father, breakfast is ready. They asked me to call you," Rin said, and his father suddenly laughed and realized that Rin only came to inform him that the breakfast was ready. He thanked Rin, but he wanted him to go first since he was not hungry yet. Rin looked at his father's table and concluded that his father was busy with magic-related stuff. As per Kevin, the theory presentation is next week, and he feels a little rushed. Besides, eating makes him nervous, so he tries to focus and get as much done while his mind is clear in the morning. Rin stared at the paper on the table and asked his father if he was stuck with it. "Were you going to give me a pep talk or something?" His father replied, since he believed there was nothing Rin could help as a kid. Rin then said that he was thinking of helping him with the magic circle. His father told him that he appreciated the help, it's just that he was afraid his wife would scold him if Rin missed breakfast. He ordered Rin to go out of his library so he could eat breakfast, but then Rin didn't listen at all and instead grabbed a pen. He writes something while saying that magic is about taking the principles of nature, converting them into mathematical formulas, then twisting them to make them work differently. His father stares at him in confusion. He continued to speak, saying that the rune storehouse not only complicates the formulas but also conflicts with rune tea, which is why it is better to replace it with the rune hill. And if his father would use the formula 41-2, he believes his father would get the answer just like that. His father grabbed the paper and checked how he solved it. Kevin was speechless, knowing that even the Empire's top scholars couldn't find a solution to this problem. But this high-level spell had been activated about 200 years ago. How did he do that? Kevin uttered. If this spell could be restored, it could save many people from natural disasters like floods or landslides. He was so confused about how his son, who had just learned the basics of magic, did it. Based on his understanding of basic magic, Rain was a perfectly normal child. However, considering Rain is of the Ludwig magic family's lineage, it implied that he hadn't inherited any magical talent. "Can you join us for breakfast now?" Rin asked. From a confused face, Kevin smiled and hugged Rin while saying that they should eat together. Rain's family was small. He had both parents and a 6-year-old sister. The little one peeking out from behind the door was his sister, Sari. Her black hair shimmered like silk and her eyes were red. A cute girl who inherited the physical traits of the Ludwig family, just like Rain. While she was peeking, Rin turned his head around, which startled the little girl, and decided to run away. Rin then sighed, and he wasn't surprised with Sari's reaction since he knew that the real owner of his body now was never kind to Sari. It wasn't that he was cruel, he was just indifferent to everything in the world. He continued to read a book and he suddenly remembered when Lista told him to show some affection instead of just running away. He also remembered when Lista believed that he was a warm-hearted kid who would surely do great. Rin was annoyed and closed the book he was reading. "Come here, I'll teach you some magic," he said, which shocked Sari. She looked at Rin and Rin asked her if she wanted them to play together. But then, Sari ran away once again. Rin was so confused knowing that kids are so hard to understand. But after a minute, Sari came back, but this time, she had a book with her. It's the basic formula of holy magic. Rin cannot believe that Sari is already reading this kind of book even if she's just 6. Sari was smiling in excitement while Rin stares at her. Lista always complained that Rin treated her like a kid, but honestly, he loved those times. Rin let his sister sit on his lap and started teaching her. He explained everything that was written in the book. He asked her if she had played building blocks and she answered yes, and she had it. Straw houses, brick houses, depending on what kind of building, need different materials, and in magic, the magic circle plays a similar role as per Rin. The shape of the magic circle determines the element of the magic. If it's a triangle, it's the fire element, and if it's a fan shape, it's the wind element. Rin also explained that runes determine the effect of the magic. Runes are the words that give power to magic. Binding means to restrain, and scattering means to disperse. For example, if someone inscribes the Yin rune on a triangular magic circle, it becomes a fire element binding spell. To put it into practice, they can use mathematical formulas. He told it to Sari, but then Sari didn't know what math was. Rin was annoyed while Sari was really clueless. He decided to teach Sari the basics, which are addition and subtraction. While teaching her, there were workers inside their mansion who were glad to see them, very sweet, and also, they noticed changes of Rain since he returned from the square in front of the papal palace. Meanwhile, Rain's parents were so happy seeing Rin and Sari sleep together. The lady wanted to capture this moment in a painting since this is their first time seeing both of their children like this. But then, Keval believes that both of their kids would surely wake up when the painter arrives. And also, knowing that Sari is a shy little girl, he knows it won't work. When they went closer to the kids, Kevin saw papers full of written magic, so he concluded that Rain taught Sari about magic. Right now, he could say that Rain had been a completely different person since he came back from the plaza. The lady agreed and said that even Rain's speech suddenly became more mature. She thought that her son might have been possessed by the abyss, but then Kevin disagreed as he only believed that it might be because like father like son, since he also had a similar experience once. According to him, he got to see Rin's body, one of the great heroes, when he was a student. At that time, he was proud that he had become a 3-star wizard, but Rin had reached the 5-star level in that turbulent era. Living in a peaceful era created by the heroes, he had no idea how complacent he had become. It was a real wake-up call for him, and he concludes that Rain, his son, might have a similar realization. They get out of the study room of Rain and the lady asks Kevin if hero Rin's body is really frozen. Kevin answered yes and explained that Rin has mastered freezing magic so perfectly that he remains asleep, looking exactly as he did when he was 18. The lady asked him to say more stories about hero Rin, but then even if Kevin wanted to, it was all he knew, so there was nothing else he could share. He also mentioned that there was some magic left by Lista in the ice, and rumors said that only Rin and Lista could awaken that magic. He deduces that it might be a letter. Lista leaves a letter for Rin, knowing that he'll definitely return one day. After talking about heroes, Kevin opened up to his wife that their son Rain seems to be a genius, and not just any genius, one who might reach the level of a sage, as he solved a magic circle this morning, the problem that he couldn't figure out for over a year. His wife was shocked and concluded that it was the reason why Kevin had joined their breakfast earlier. Because of that, Kevin decided to start teaching Rain their family's secret magic. And if his son really that talented, he believes that Rain could become the thieving magician, the one who can read and steal any magic. The bloodline restricted magic that was only allowed to those who had inherited the blood of the Ludwig family. He doesn't know how much he could teach his son since magic is naturally difficult. Since magic isn't something to be taken lightly, his wife asked him what his plan was. Kevin just said that he already has a plan in his mind. Days had passed. Under the blue sky, a dazzling field of tulips stretching to the horizon. This is Siastolica. This beautiful region, known for its tulips, had 1/3 of its land owned by the Ludwig family. This is the place Rin was staying sometimes. Right now, he was lying on the grass while staring at the sky. He was biting a grass and he was glad to see an absolutely perfect weather. He got up and said, "To go far, you need long-term goals, especially if it is toward the truth. To become a 7-star wizard, there's a lot to do. No matter how young someone is, they cannot waste their time. He was planning to summon the magic guide, but his sister Sari suddenly came and asked him what he was doing. Sari said that she was bored, so she wanted someone to play with. Rin then informed her that he was just about to summon the magic guide. He decided to also make one for Sari, and upon hearing it, Sari was shocked and suddenly jumped in happiness. She was screaming in excitement and spun around. Rin was staring at her and he knew that Sari was just excited. According to Rin, the magic circle's structure is a multi-tiered square. The runes to be inscribed are pillar, stay, dot, and ladder. He added that it's a high-level magic involving 4 different elements, so they need to be a 4-star wizard to handle it. In this country where they lived in, there are probably only 10 wizards who can use it. He wrote something on the paper and azure light mixed with lightning emerges. The magic seemed to be splashing in front of them, and seeing it made Sari amazed. Unfortunately, Rin was harmed after casting a spell. He was in pain and his sister was worried for him. His body was shaking in agony. He then concludes that a 4-star magic is still too much for him. Lucky for him, it was just a guiding spell. If it had been a combat magic, he knew he would surely die. A strong blow of wind appeared after the strike. Rin was complaining about his current body now. He suddenly called Ruiden, an ancient language for guide. Rudian is a butterfly that seems to be made of water. It landed in the finger of Sari. Rudian quantifies the user's ability and can detect potential magical power. Rin informed Sari that Rudian would tell her what she needed to learn and how to train. As per Rin, the rune pillar and the guiding spell reveals the basic magical capacity. The rune stay shows their proficiency in using magic. In short, it has all the best runes for learning. It might seem simple, but it's still a 4-star magic spell. She asked Sari if she liked it and Sari answered yes. He then ordered his sister to leave and study magic somewhere else. He stares at his sister leaving, making sure that his sister won't see him. He realizes that he needs to recover his mana first and just call the second Rudian after that. Meanwhile, after summoning his own Rudian, he then quantifies his physical condition and his mana is currently 3024. He was a little bit disappointed since it was worse than a beginner wizard. As for his magical arithmetic, it's 77 points while his stamina is 64 points. He knows he has a long way to go, so he doesn't want to waste time. There was a detected bloodline restricted magic manual on him, and he could possibly acquire Belqueries and Belsidius. Because of this, he guessed his body wasn't complete garbage. It reminded him of a young wizard who came to see him when he was traveling with Lista. He wanted to prove he was the Empire's greatest wizard. He said he'd join the party instead of Rin, but his skills weren't anything special. For Rin, that guy wasn't that impressive. But his eyes gave Rin quite a bit of trouble. With those eyes, he could see through every spell Rin used, and he would just counterattack constantly. Now it all makes sense for Rin. He knows that it's the power of the Ludwig family's bloodline limit magic, Belsidius. Just by seeing the flow of mana, they can tell what magic their opponent is using. When magic skills are equal, the one who can counter best has the advantage, and then there's Belqueries, the legendary eye that only 3 people in the history of the Empire's magic have opened. If the Belsidius lets them see through another person's magic, Belqueries let them steal it. The reason the Ludwig bloodline was known as the thieving wizards was because of that eye. Now, Rin found his goal for childhood. He was aware that he could not become a grand wizard without magic power and stamina, so he was thinking of a way. After staying in the field for long, he went back home and searched for a book in their library. His father came and asked him if he was starting to take an interest in their family's bloodline limit magic. Rin was shocked that his father knew about it, and he thought that his father was watching him. Although, it's still a bit early, but are you interested in learning it? Kevin asked, and Rin believed that learning the theory ahead of time should be fine, so he told his father that he wanted to learn it. His father then informed him that he would have a tutor named Alen. He also let him know that he will go to a conference, and when he returns, he will teach him himself. Rin doesn't know who this Alen his father mentioned. His father then said that Alen is his aunt who teaches students at Delayton with an exceptional talent for magic and a great personality. And most importantly, Alen was the one who loved her nephew more than anyone else in the world. A lady then came, and upon seeing her, Rin flinched. The lady seemed to be a bad girl type. She walked closer to Rin and said, "This is unbelievable. Does the great genius Professor Alen Ludwig really have to come all the way here to teach this uncute little brat?" she said. It turned out that she was Alen Ludwig, the lady Kevin mentioned. She touched Rin's head and asked him if he was ready. The lady also questioned him if he knew her already. "Your Aunt Alen," Rin answered. Alen turned around and instructed Rin to call her Professor Alen Ludwig the Great Genius from now on. She also informed Rin that she can't stand dollars who don't understand things all at once. She also doesn't want Rin to ask her something she already taught. Thus began training the Bloodline Magic Limit. Bloodline Magic Limit is not recorded to prevent theft by other magicians. Therefore, they must meet a family mage to receive knowledge directly into their mind. Alen is willing to demonstrate it, so she wants Rin to pay close attention. Rin stared at her and saw her eyes shimmer. Her magic was activated and Rin felt a strange feeling. He felt the same feeling when he saw those eyes back then. He widely smiled when he finally realized that this magic was the Bell Sidious. While Alen was doing it, Rin was so impressed. How about it? Pretty cool, huh? To use this, you have to be able to process 3 spells at the same time. 3 spells. A rookie like you could never dream of it, Alen stated. Rin then said that he could do it, but then Alen laughed at him. Apparently satisfied with Rin's reaction, Alen confidently jotted down a few formulas. It was an analysis of the magic. When he checked it, it had more theoretical content than he thought. If the founder of the Ludwig family hadn't restricted the magic to his bloodline, he believes that Rain could have used it too. While reading the formulas, Alen was expecting him to have a hard time learning it. He then confidently told the lady that he just needed a bit of time to sort it out. Alen teases him saying that he is hopeless and she guesses that she should specially teach it to Rin instead. Thank you for your guidance. I'll take it from here, Rin replied, which shocked Alen. Rin started to study by himself while Alen was embarrassed. She suddenly laughed when she concluded that Rin was just pretending not to need her guidance. But then, Rin didn't respond to her at all, so Eldon became annoyed. Alen was grumping and let Rin do what he wanted, but she told him that she doubted he could do it by himself. She also warned Rin not to come crying to her later asking for help. Rin was peacefully learning the formula while Alen was reading a book right in front of him. None of them dared to speak. While Rin was writing and checking his notes, Alen suddenly grabbed his paper and wrote something on it to let him see it. After that, Alen covered her face with the book she was holding. Rin was confused. Still, he continued to write, but Alen grabbed his paper once again, then gave it back to him with the notes. She covered her face with the book again and Rin was still clueless of what she was doing. He cannot say if it is how modern magic education works or if Alen is just testing him. At the same time, his mother was watching them and she was glad as she thought that her son and Alen were having a good time learning. After a few hours, Alen told Rin to rest. Alen then left and Rin's mother came to him and asked him if Alen was a bit unusual. He then answers yes, and according to his mother, it is because Alen is not very honest about her feelings. The truth is, she is eager to teach Rin everything. His mother wants him to ask Alen plenty of questions, even if it's something he already knows. When Alen used to follow Kevin and her around, she was just like that and was very adorable as per the lady. Rin then concludes that the meaning of adorable might have changed over the past 300 years. Meanwhile, Alen came, and as usual, she was reading a book again while Rin continued to write. While Rin was writing, he could not hold himself but stare at the lady sometimes. Alen caught him staring and she got startled, so she immediately covered her face with the book again. When Rin looked back to his writing, Alen then secretly stared at him. But at this time, Rin was already annoyed with Alen, thinking that she's the kind of aunt who is even more bothersome than Sari, who is 6 years old. He called her and she looked at him with anger. He lied that there was a part she couldn't understand, so he asked her to help. Alen is surprised and suddenly changes the mood in an instant. Is that so? You don't even know this. Our family's doomed, totally doomed. Let me see that, where exactly? She angrily said. And Rin then pointed it, and Alen then showed him how to solve it. She said that if Rin would use the formula written on the paper, he could solve it several times faster. Rin then apologizes to her despite that he doesn't want to, since he knows he can learn it on his own. The lady scolded him by saying that he didn't know anything. She even questioned the things he was doing until he was 9 years old. Rin only listened to what his mother said, so he kept on asking Alen until Alen became annoyed for questioning her many times. Alen's lessons were always like this, although she was quite hands-on. Rin was grateful as he was able to greatly accelerate his theoretical and practical learning. On the 10th day under Alen's guidance, he felt a searching pain in his retinas. It's not an eye pain, it feels like his head is about to burst. With a sensation of blood rushing to his head, the world started turning completely red. Then it happened, a sign appeared in his glowing red eyes. Everything he saw turned into numbers, which made him confused. All information was being transmitted to his brain as mathematical formulas. He was guessing, and that time, in that young wizard's eyes, he concludes that all of his magic must have been interpreted this way, as numbers and formulas. He was so amazed with it. His aunt came. He looked at her and she witnessed that he finally made it. She was shocked and her voice was stuttering as she could not believe she achieved these eyes in 10 days. Even after receiving special education, it took Alen 7 years to acquire Bell Sidious. It was said that it would take at least 70 years to master Bell queries. And now, she cannot believe that her niece, Rin, had learned it for 10 days. For her, it's like performing multiple operations of basic magic in a blind state without knowing anything. She concludes that her niece might be comparable to hero Rin, who was called the god of multivariate magic. She thought that her niece might be different. The night came, Alen informed Kevin. Kevin was so happy. Alen then said that the Ludwig family may become the leading mage family if Rain does well. She was so amazed by Rain and she was so proud of him right now. She then left Kevin alone and Kevin was smiling and said that there's nothing he can teach to his son as a father. Someone suddenly came and called him. It was a guy asking him to give him his orders, and he then commanded the guy to send a letter to his father, the previous head of the family. The guy seemed to be hesitant, so Kevin asked him if he had a problem with it. The guy said no, since it wasn't what he meant to say. To my father, I request your guidance as your grandson possessed natural talent and I humbly ask for your teachings, Kevin said, and it was the message he wanted the guy to send to his father. It seems that you truly are sparing no effort for the young master. Well, I will proceed as you ordered, the guy stated, and Kevin smiled at him. Many days had passed. Spring has ended and a brief summer has arrived. This summer is expected to last about a year. A dark cloud covered the continent, pouring down heavy rain day after day. That summer, Rin was incredibly busy. During the day, he learned household magic from Alen. He taught basic magic to Sari whenever he had the chance, and at night, he focused on training his physical and magical abilities. The development of modern magic learned through Alen and books was truly remarkable. As a human from 300 years ago, it was a shocking level of development. To be able to establish an extremely complex formula so simple, not only has the casting time decreased, but the power has also become much stronger. His level of magic today is incredibly higher than it was 300 years ago. He might even win against a modern 4th rank mage. His magic also grew with time, but it's impossible for him to become a 7th rank mage of this era in his current state. He needs a much stronger power and he needs knowledge too. He went to his father and asked a favor to ask a favor. He wants his father to send him to the magical world, and he believes it should take about 3 years for him to graduate. His parents were shocked, and even Sari. He told his family that he wanted to go to the magical world Golden Rose to study magic, and he knew that the Empire's top magic university, Delatonum, was there. He asked his father if he could go, and Sari wrapped his body and told his father to not let him go. Kevin then told him that it wasn't possible since he was only 10 years old, so leaving home was too early for him. According to Kevin, the maid's children entered Delaton at the age of 6, and even if Rain would go there, it would be too early to be admitted. And besides, Rain has much more important matters to tend to right now. Sari was still begging Rin not to leave while Rin was curious about what matter his father meant to say. His father handed him an envelope and then informed him that his grandfather sent this letter to him. Upon hearing it, Alen was shocked since it was unusual. She was coughing due to how surprised she was, and Rin's mother then looked at her and was worried. Alen angrily asked about it to Kevin, but Kevin commanded her to wipe her mouth before speaking. Rin was so curious, then he was shocked when he finally realized. As per Kevin, in their Ludwig family, his father is also one of the few founders of Belqueries. Rin was so happy thinking that his prediction was right, that the creator of Belqueries was Scala Ludwig, his grandfather. Your grandfather will personally teach you Belqueries, Kevin said, and his mother was so happy upon hearing it. He then immediately rode a carriage and headed to his grandfather's home. When he arrived, he saw a huge castle. He entered inside guided by his father, but then, his father only sent him to where Scala Ludwig was since there was something else he needed to do first. He was standing outside and saw an old man staring at the window. The old slightly stares at him and he feels a little nervous. The old man casts a magic, then points it on the ground. Rin suddenly felt a strange feeling. The ground shook and he was terrified since he didn't know what this old man was trying to do. The old man casts another magic and Rin decided to think first before doing anything. He casts a magic circle and he was ready to defend himself. His grandfather was staring at him emotionless. Unfortunately, his magic circle was deactivated all of a sudden. He was shocked and wondered what just happened. Then he flinched when his grandfather spoke, telling him that it was because of the Belqueries making him see all types of magic the opponent was casting and control it freely. From a nervous reaction, Rin smiled in satisfaction. His father then came and saw how interested he was in learning the skill. Scala turned off the skill, then explained that mastering Belqueries isn't the end, and to use it properly, the caster must fully understand it. He then asked Rin's level and Rin replied that he could barely perform 1/3 rank magic quickly. Scala was impressed upon hearing it and he said it was almost bewildering. Even so, Belqueries requires immense magical power, so he believes Rin still has a long way to go in his current state. But the way is just long, right? It's not that I can't achieve it, right? Grandfather, please teach me the path to that level, Rin said. Scala then warned him that the way he trained someone would be difficult, but he made sure it would be the best way for someone to learn. Kevin nodded since he agreed with his father. My first impression was too rough. I apologize. I sincerely welcome you, Scala said. Kevin was about to leave, but he paused when he heard his father invited him to have a drink for the first time since they had confirmed Rain's aptitude. Kevin looked back at his father and his father then gave him a signal to leave. He then bowed down to pay respect. After a few minutes, Rin and Scala went outside to have a spar. Scala was using his thunder strike while telling Rin that he must be able to use belly queries freely. He then ordered Rin to analyze the magic quickly and not miss it. Rin then answered yes. Scala then attacks Rin's position while telling him to move quickly instead of watching until the opponent's magic is activated. Scala enjoys teaching his grandson, and he believes that his grandson has truly an amazing talent since he noticed that Rin learns 100 even if he only teaches him one thing. He also concludes that the only thing Rin needs to learn is how to use his eyes and the growth of his magical power. What was your original training regimen like? You have to risk your life to increase your rate of growth, he said while Rin was running around. Rin then replied that he got it, and this time, Scala casts a fireball. He warned Rin that he would die if he can't avoid it. Rin felt nervous. He then focuses on activating his eyes. Scala screamed, giving a signal to Rin to activate his skill. Rin's eyes sparkled as he activated Belcedius. His father then attacked him with a fireball. Hurry up, Rin, the old man screamed. After interpreting the opponent's magic with Belcedius, Rin believes that he should interfere and manipulate the fight with Bell queries. The fireball got stronger and was near him. His eyes become red and it shines. He saw numbers appearing just like when the first time he activated Belcedius. Finally, he successfully activated the Bell queries. He was shocked, and all things in front of him are converted into equations and transmitted directly to his brain. Now, he believes he can try changing the equation in front of him as he wishes. The magical array of the spell consists of 2 triangles. The assigned rune symbol is formulaic Ludicin. The size is 17 axles, the range is 23 Gimite. After computing it, he finally got the answer which he believed with imaginary roots. This time, he controlled the fireball of Scala and put out the flame. Scala was shocked, and unfortunately, Rin feels so weak. Scala catches him in an instant before he falls to the ground. He was sweating and panting heavily. He then asked his grandfather if he managed to do it. Scale then answered yes and informed him that all he needed to do now was to increase his magical power. It's hard to believe even after seeing it with my own eyes. I can't believe you mastered Bell queries at 14 years of age, he said, and Rin was so happy to see his grandfather very proud of him. The fact is that Scala barely reached the level Rin reached when he was 39, which is why he could say that Rin is a genius who could overturn the history of the empire. Meanwhile, after Rin regains his strength, his father starts to talk seriously about life. Scala told him that he wouldn't interfere with what kind of life he would live, but he wants Rin to be sure to get admitted to Delayton when he turns 16. Rin wasn't happy since he was not interested this time, but Scala really wanted him to enroll in Delayton as he believed that Rin would have a chance to have an audience with Archmage hero Rin once he graduated as a top student in that academy. They headed back home and Rin was shocked the moment he heard from Scala that there was a letter left by the hero Lista. He then remembered Lista again, and he was sure that the letter was for him. According to Scala, no one has ever opened Bell queries at Rin's age, so with Rin's abilities, he believes Rin should be able to read the contents of the letter. Back then, Rin was just stunned and speechless from the shock, but looking back, that was the beginning. He had a goal to follow the letter left by Lista, a story of a journey that follows the traces of old comrades. When Rin got back home, he then informed his parents that he would be enrolled in the Delayton, so he needed to take the opportunity while traveling south to explore various places and learn about the world. He bids goodbye to his family and his father wishes him to do well and come back safely. His father also asked him if he would stay in the magical world even after the entrance exam, and he answered knowing that it is where all knowledge gathers. At the same time, his sister was staring angrily at him since she didn't want him to leave the mansion. The notorious Delayton entrance exam is held at the end of the year, and successful applicants start their first semester in March. Rin's parents sent him outside their house to ride a carriage and his mother was worried for him since he wanted to go alone without any escort. He then heard his father telling his mother that his skills were already outstanding, and his father also believed that he wouldn't face any danger as long as he followed the national highway. At this time, Rin was staring at the sky. He was thinking that someday when he thought of this conversation, he wondered if he would be able to recall this as a memory. 15 days passed during his journey. He was in the Jeram region, southern part of the Holy Empire Richland. There were numerous inns and bars in the small town. Strangely, everyone passing by was wearing hats. When he was wandering around, there was a drunk man questioning him why he wasn't wearing a hat. "You don't know about Rin Top?" he asked. But then, Rin doesn't know what it means. The man then said that he looked smart but he didn't know anything. According to him, their founding leader received help from Archmage Rin long ago, and it was said that they must wear a hat as a gesture of gratitude. For him, it was cool since it's a top with such a grand history. Rin was very curious to know who is the founding leader this man mentioned, and he thought he might think of it when he heard the name. He then asked the man why such great merchants were stuck in a village like this. And as per the man, there's a problem at the intersection leading to Sunway Road. Monsters have been appearing on the road, and people said there are already dozens of people who have gone missing. They're waiting for Lord Nori to send an expeditionary force. I wonder what my business partners will say. He added, the living forms whose essential nature was distorted by the influence of the abyss were called monsters. The monsters resembled animals but had a much more grotesque appearance and ferocious magical power. And no matter how much they were subjugated, they didn't disappear. Rin suddenly activated his ability and was hoping that those monsters roaming around weren't the top monsters that posed a threat to him. The man told him to be careful while he was leaving. The night came, Rin was still walking around, and at this time, he felt the monsters gazing at him. But they're not attacking. Perhaps they sense the difference in magical power with their animal instincts. If it's just human monsters, he believes he should be able to defeat them. But he knows it's none of his business. Besides, he was sure that the expeditionary force would handle it well. While he was walking in the middle of the night, he remembered the time when he was exploring with his team back then. That time, it was Lista who held the map and instructed them where they were going. There's an amazing flower garden in that area. Would you like to stop by on the way? She asked, but Rin was annoyed. He scolded them and informed them that there were 2 Pequari parties who crossed over to the continent before them, fought to the front lines, and were completely wiped out. As a result, the front lines have reached a stalemate, but everyone is barely holding on, waiting for reinforcements from other heroes. And he believes that his team doesn't know the situation at that time. You don't know? The Red Dragon Corps and Yellow Dragon Corps are already heading to the battlefield. Even the most powerful mercenaries cross the sea for honor and glory, right? So we need to hurry too. That's why I'm saying this. Since the strong ones have left, it seems like the monsters have started rampaging all over this continent. Even so, the danger level is probably C rank or B rank tops at most. Now isn't the time to deal with such things, he angrily said while his comrades were just calm. Lista was smiling at him, telling him that there are countless people who urgently need help in this world, even for seemingly trivial matters. She believes that there's no shortage of things needing help. She was hoping that Rin would become an adult who would help those people. Recalling that day made Rin sad. Even though Lista had died 300 years ago, he still felt that the lady was nagging him. Nothing's changed. Right now, he decided to rest for a while since he felt tired of walking already. There's magic in his hand, and he enchanted words then ordered the magic to go and find the monsters. The animals in the forest were alarmed. Rin was patiently waiting, and when his magic had finally located the enormous monster, he then ordered it to bring it to him. A thing flew above and dropped to the ground in front of Rin. Rin was staring at it, but he could not identify what monster it was. The monster was growling in pain, and Rin was confused if this monster was considered a threat to him. He have dealt with countless like this before, which is why he was calm. He's willing to let go of this monster as long as it would promise not to harm people again. He then activates his power since the monster isn't responding to him. He then sliced the monster to pieces and walked away thinking that he only executed the monster just to help the people in this village. The border between the central and southern parts of the empire. If his memory serves him right, it was known as the Bardantian Mountains. The moment he set foot there, what greeted him were low-level demon beasts who looked at him with contempt. He was about to eliminate these things, but all of them were attacked using arrows. Rin was confused since he had never seen anyone around. But when he turned around, he saw someone landing from above. It was 2 archers. Rin's eyes rounded as he thought that the long-haired guy was Kai's. He was staring at them, and the long-haired guy jumped toward him and asked him if he was fine. He was more shocked since the guy smelled alcohol just like Kai's. This is a place where monsters often appear. Wasn't anyone warning you on your way here? The guy said. His companion also jumped down and said that there was no need for them to give warning since they, a descendant of the Imperial Palace, were protecting this place. Rin then gets back to his senses, telling himself that it is impossible to be Kai's. I'm not sure which faction you belong to, but I'm grateful for your help, he said, and he asked them if this area was the Bardantio Mountains. The 2 guys looked into each other's eyes and suddenly laughed so loud. Rin then asked them why they were laughing, and the short-haired guy answered that this place had been changed to Kieslinton. It means Castle Siege Kai's Mountains. After defeating the Abyss, Kai's seems to have established roots here. Rin believes that these 2 guys must be disciples of the archery faction established by Kai's. He remembered that it was said that skilled individuals recognized by them traditionally guard this alley. While the 2 guys are blabbering to each other, Rin stares at them, thinking that the basic principle of this faction might be a drunken archery. He chuckled, wondering why Kai's teach to the people here. You came at the right time, kid. A festival is being held today. Today is a day when everyone can drink for free. If you want to become an adult, you should at least know the taste of alcohol, the guy said while hanging his hand on Rin's shoulder. This guy then added that alcohol is a path to the sun and moon, and his companion was annoyed at him and told him that he turned out to be a very refined man. "Stop talking nonsense and focus. Don't think about skipping your duty today. We have to protect this place," he added while walking away. The other guy then told him that they could not just leave a kid alone. At the same time, Rin was annoyed because of the smell of alcohol. The guy suddenly grabbed him to take him to the village entrance and told his companion that he would be back right after. While they were walking in the way full of leaves, the guy explained that the road was a mess because of the fallen leaves. They do rake the leaves, but this year there are unusually many, so even when they clean them, it feels endless. He was talking much without knowing that Rin wasn't listening to him. The guy then informed him that he would find a seal if he went up the wooden stairs, and he would reach his destination if he followed the road straight from there. But then, Rin was focusing on something else. He saw a tomb right in front of them. He reads the words written on the tomb and he suddenly feels pain in his chest. He remembered Kai's. "If you're on a journey, why don't you make a wish here too?" the guy said, but Rin was clueless. The guy then thought that he was just asking as he didn't recognize it at all. Rin then asked him what he meant to say and he flinched when he heard the guy answer that the tomb in front of them was the tomb of Lord Kai's where everyone makes a wish like protecting them for the year. He thought that the guy was just joking, but then the guy was really serious. He then said that it was strange that a lord's tomb was built in the middle of a mountain. The guy then asked him if he was not residents to this country for not knowing the story behind the tomb of Kai's. He mentioned that among Lord Kai's colleagues was the Grand Wizard Rin. They heard that Hero Rin was a shy person and Kai's seemed to believe that Hero Rin would definitely come back even after his own death. Kai's said that if his grave is set up in this village, Hero Rin, who is very shy and avoids people, won't come, so he asked to be buried here. Rin was speechless upon hearing it. He remembered how he scolded Kai's for snoring while sleeping and how he smelled alcohol. Kai's sometimes teases him by touching his head, which makes him annoyed. There was one time when they were studying something, Kai's suddenly touched his head again, so he complained and reminded him not to touch his head over and over again. At this time, Rin held his head as he missed Kai's. The genuine smile of Kai's recalled in his mind, and the letter on the tomb was saying, "Did you know? This is an eternal farewell, that we can never meet again." He flinched as he disagreed with the words written on the tomb. He knew that he definitely promised to come back, promised to come and see them again. Now, he feels like Kai's was reminding him about his promise. He grasped and suddenly ran away in fear. He was screaming while running. He was sweating and suddenly tripped on a wood and fell to the ground. His face was sunk on the leaves and he clenched his fist out of anger. He screamed angrily while punching the ground. Meanwhile, he sat on the cliff with sadness. He told himself that he must go back, turn around, and go to Kai's grave so he could say goodbye. He knows that he was late, but he still came back, so he still fulfilled his promise. It's just that it was the wrong time. He was sorry to his three companions and he wished that the three forgave him. The night came. Bird was chirping while Rin was still on the cliff lying on the ground. He was staring at the dark sky and saw a bird. He then told himself that he had good eyesight to see such things in the darkness. He remembered every detail when the time he was with his companions, even the time before he froze himself. He suddenly laughed like crazy. He remembered the faces of his companions at the time he was almost dying. He continued to laugh. He covered his eyes with his hand and suddenly remembered the face of Kai's. His tears started to drop. He was crying in pain and sorrow. After he calmed himself, he continued to walk heading to the grave of Kai's. When he arrived, he stared at the tomb for a moment. He walks toward it and activates a magic power. He pointed it at the tomb of Kai's and strongly punched the ground. All the leaves flew away and burned to ashes. He was covered with flame and after a few minutes, the flame slowly vanished and the area where the tomb was located was already clean. He was staring at the tomb. He turned around and walked away. He walked away with sadness. He felt sorry for Kai's. He wanted to tell him that he didn't come to his grave early not because he was shy but because he lacked the courage to face him, to meet him, and ask for forgiveness. He remembered how he and Kai's walked together with smiles on their faces, and he was upset by the fact that he didn't keep his promise to him. Many days had passed. Autumn in the south was hot. Under such a summer-like autumn sky, a dazzling city spread out before his eyes. He finally arrived at the magical city, Golden Rose. The magical university, Delayton, was located at the heart of the Golden Rose. It was a city Rin had been curious about since his past life, but it turned out that it didn't live up to his expectations. Outside the Golden Rose, there were people selling magic books, magical tools, and many more. All knowledge of the world flows through Golden Rose. It's a saying that suits the status of this place where everything and everyone gathers. At this time, he approached a vendor who sells many kinds of rocks. There's something that caught his attention and the seller said he could buy it with 10 copper coins. Rin then decided to take it. He was staring at it while saying, "At that time, I think I was well into my 80 seconds. The seller suddenly called his attention and reminded him that the clock tower bell was ringing, which meant that the exam would start soon. Rin then pays him the 10 copper coins as he remembers that he was here originally to take the Delayton examination. When he was about to leave, he suddenly heard someone screaming. It turned out that there was a thief. The thief is running away very fast while Rin concludes that the security in this place is not so good. He decided not to interfere, thinking that there should be guards who could catch the thief since this city is a big city after all. He flinched when he remembered the exam again, so he needed to go as fast as he could. Unfortunately, there was an old woman who bumped into him. The old woman fell to the ground. Rin then asked her if she was fine and he wanted to help, but he couldn't, knowing that he would be late for the examination. "Give it back. That's not something for sale. It's my family's legacy. Today, my grandson needs it for the entrance exam. He has to take the exam. Please give it back," the old woman said, which left Rin speechless. It turned out that this old woman was the victim of the thief earlier. Rin walked away, telling himself that he could not waste his time because of the examination. But while he was heading to the examination location, he suddenly heard Lista's voice telling him to help the old woman. He then approached the old woman, asking her if it was the guy earlier who stole from her. The old woman was shocked and Rin told her to wait for a moment. He then runs, planning to chase the thief. The old woman was shocked by his help. While he was jumping on the roof, he was recalling Lista's face. People are watching him. He then activates his magic power. He was about to attack the thief, but then he heard a voice screaming, "I'm dead busy, so annoying. I'll turn you into a charcoal briquette. Get out of my way." Another girl jumped and touched Rin's shoulder, reminding him that he already told him to get out of the way. Rin was confused and he saw a kid right in front of him wearing a white suit. The girl was chasing the thief and activated a power. At the same time, Rin continued to run at the roof. A small bright light emerges from the girl's magic power. She then attacked it to the thief and the thief was blocked with lots of sand. The thief flinched, wondering why sand appeared. The sand became huge and it froze. The girl then stood at the top of it and said, "A pickpocket in this golden rose. You're brave, I'll admit that, but you seem to have picked the wrong day." At this moment, Rin was speechless. The sand formed as a soldier right in front of the thief. The girl then told him that he was now doomed, as he had been caught by none other than the illegitimate child of the Warden family. Rin knew about it upon seeing the sand soldier summoned by this girl. The Warden family is a powerful family in the eastern territory of the Empire, and one of the top 5 mage families, along with the Ludwig family. Rin met her a few times at Sega meetings before he regained his memories of his previous life. At that time, the girl was nagging him, telling him that he was a descendant of the mage families, and also an eldest son, so he must not be afraid of himself. Every time they met, the girl always gave him a lecture, which is why he called her a nerd. One thing he was confused about right now was why the girl was wearing a school uniform. The thief was holding something in his hand which flinched the girl. The thief attacked the sand soldiers using his wind magic and the girl jumped away to avoid being harmed. The sand was spinning and the people around were scared and immediately ran away. There was a kid sipped by the strong blow of the wind. His mother panicked and the kid was caught by a rope that was cast by Rin. Rin activates his eyes and finds out that the thief is also a mage just like them. He seems to have a decent amount of mana and there was an item on his left hand. Pretty good item for a thief, huh? Then let's see you block this one, the girl uttered and cast a 2-star magic which scared the thief. Rin at the same time was impressed with the girl's incredible surge of mana. The girl was smiling. She clasps her hands and creates a dazzling light. The ground then suddenly shook and behind the girl cracked, seemed like there was something that was about to come out. If the Ludwig family is called thieving mages, the Warden family is called wielding mages. The Warden family's bloodline magic is a summoning magic of the earth's attribute. A sandstone golem appeared and the thief got scared of it. The girl then told him to show off his tricks. The golem's eyes sparkled and the thief smiled and showed the bracelets in his hand while saying that with all of these, he is invincible. He attacked the golem and the girl was dumbfounded. The thief was laughing in satisfaction, and the golem suddenly became weak, but its eyes sparkled again for the second time. The girl then smiled and told the thief that he could just defeat her with such a lowly attack. But then, the thief cast another attack and it turned out that it was a spell for him to control the golem. The golem was about to punch the girl, but its arm shattered to pieces when someone attacked it with a thunder strike. The thief was dumbfounded. Someone then told him that he shouldn't have shown his ultimate move so early, as it would only make him receive a counterattack. The girl was shocked when she saw a familiar boy standing in front of her. And as expected, it was Rin. "I'll give you a tip. Casting a spell first doesn't guarantee victory," Rin stated. The thief was annoyed at him, while the girl at the same time realized who his boy was right in front of her. Rin ignored the girl and instead activated a magic circle. The magic square pattern is a circle. The run engraved is fierce. Rin activates a water element and attacks it to the golem. The water dropped at them, but the golem was unharmed. Water attribute is the natural enemy of the earth attribute, but my golem can't be defeated with 1-star magic, the girl uttered with annoyance. The golem was staring at them. The thief at the same time was laughing, belittling Rin for acting high and mighty but only dealing a small amount of damage. The two kids were staring at the golem. The golem then swung its arm, planning to smash the kid, and Rin still attacked it with the water element. He was able to block its attack, but the girl reminded him once again that his water element could not defeat her golem. The thief at this point was teasing Rin and wished him to die. He controlled the golem and the golem punched Rin's magic many times. Rin holds his magic, and at this rate, the golem started to crack. He harmed the golem, which puzzled the thief. Still, he controlled it. The golem raised its arm and swung it, aiming at the girl. Rin then jumped away while pulling the lady. The golem only punched the ground and started to break into pieces. The thief was dumbfounded, and finally, the golem was defeated by Rin. Rin slid on the ground while the girl flew away behind him. Rin then concludes that this thief can't use his own magic while intercepting and using other people's magic. At the same time, the girl was complaining about how Rin grabbed her. Rin ignored her as he was focusing on casting magic. It's only been a few seconds since he activated the 1-star magic. The magic square pattern is a double with carved doors representing rhythm and interval. Imbue earth magic with the properties of binding and fly reversal. The mathematical formula to solve is previs calculus. He easily solved the puzzle and the answer, and he believes that the answer would be to alter fate. His magic was shimmering and attacked it to the golem. There was a root coming out from the ground and it struck the golem. The thief started to panic. He was calling the golem, but the golem was already tied and could not move. This time, roots come out from the ground where the thief was standing. He was sweating in fear. He screamed while the girl was staring at him suffering. The thief was tied and could not free himself even if he tried many times. Rin pulled all the stuff in his hand and questioned if this was an artifact. The thief ordered him to give it back, but Rin reminded him that he only stole it from someone else. TP take away the other person's magic control. Rin concludes that the thief seemed to have a power similar to Belsidius. There are 2 magic squares engraved on the jewel, and he wonders if it means that the guy can steal up to 2-star magic. The thief was sweating, asking him who he was for being able to use magic so quickly. But then, Rin didn't respond and just walked away, knowing that this guy wouldn't believe him even if he told the truth. He then walked back to the old woman and handed her back the stolen stuff. "Be more careful from now on," he said. He put the jewel in the old woman's hand and he was happy seeing her crying in happiness. The people were cheering for him and screamed that he was an amazing kid. He suddenly flinched when he realized about the entrance examination. He immediately runs to head to the academy, leaving the thief in anger. There was a weapon pointed at the thief's face. It was a lady wearing a cloak. This lady then approached the little girl and called her Krista. "You made a mistake, didn't you?" this lady asked, and Krista stared at her and called her Professor Caroline. Caroline told her that it is good to be confident, but she shouldn't have used the golem so recklessly. Krista then said she was aware of it and she promised to be more careful next time. Caroline also reminded her that her strength is a self-reflection. Krista stood and smiled while saying that Rin was amazing with his magic casting speed that is faster than Caroline's. She was confused since she recalled that Rin didn't seem that strong during the Sega Council. Caroline then wondered why Rin was here fighting if he came to this place to take an entrance examination. She mentioned that the entrance exam had started a long time ago, and hearing it made Krista puzzled. At the same time, run as fast as he could, hoping to attend the examination. That's all for today. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you wish to have another part of this recap, please give us at least 2,000 likes. Please don't forget to comment and subscribe to our channel for more content like this. Until next time.